10 reasons you should go out and vote on November 6th and vote Republican. The 2018 election is just 22 days away. It's pretty close. Republicans have gained ground in the Senate over the last couple of weeks. In the House, however, Republicans still trail badly. A new CNN poll has Republicans down 13 points in the generic congressional ballot, and even the more optimistic Economist poll has them down 6. All of this should motivate you to get out and vote. Because if Democrats win the House and the Senate in 2018, conservatives should be prepared for an all-out assault on their values and an assault on President Trump from a media that makes the last 2 years look like child's play. Here are 10 reasons you should get out and vote on November 6th and vote Republican. Number 1, the courts. Obviously. For generations, the left has stacked the courts with judicial activists determined to read their priorities into the law by twisting the Constitution beyond recognition. President Trump and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell have successfully remade the federal judiciary by appointing and confirming judges dedicated to the proposition that the Constitution must be read as it was written. If Democrats somehow win back the Senate, they will hold open every single judicial seat, hoping a Democrat takes the White House in 2020. Then they'll go right back to rigging the judicial branch, using it as a club with which to destroy constitutional rights and traditional values. Reason number 2, the investigations. Get ready, gang. Democrats have already pledged investigations into every aspect of President Trump's life. They will subpoena every member of government they can get their hands on. And we know they don't really care about guilt or innocence. After all, they just tried to railroad a federal judge by claiming, without corroborating evidence, that he was an alleged gang rapist. In fact, Democrats have already pledged to launch another investigation into Justice Kavanaugh, hoping to undo the results of that confirmation vote. If you enjoyed the disgusting spectacle of Democrats trying to destroy due process of law, get ready for a lot more. Number 3, impeachment. While Democratic leadership has been kind of lukewarm on the idea of impeaching President Trump, the base is not going to settle for anything less if the Democrats take the House of Representatives. They will demand that Trump be impeached for any reason whatsoever, and then they'll push the narrative that corrupt Republicans don't care about the rule of law. Now, it's just possible that Democrats could create a backlash that helps President Trump, that voters react to impeachment by supporting him. But that is a risky proposition at best. Number 4, the economy. President Trump's chief selling point in his re-election effort will be the economy, obviously, and Democrats are dedicated to stifling economic growth if it means stopping President Trump. They will hold up budgets, they will blow out spending, they will push for harsh anti-business regulation. They'll kill the predictable pro-business climate President Trump has carefully crafted. The stock market will tumble as Wall Street begins to price in the effect of Democratic governance. And businesses will start to sock away capital again to prepare for the possibility of a unified Democratic government that could enter Washington in 2020. Number 5, foreign policy. President Trump's administration has done a terrific job of drawing us closer to our allies and throwing a scare into our enemies. He's done so because Republicans in Congress are willing to bolster our defense spending as necessary. The same is not true of Democrats, who would immediately move to cut defense spending, signaling to the world that President Obama's weak-kneed foreign policy is back. Democrats would also attempt to undermine sanctions against the Iranian regime in keeping with Obama-era foreign policy. 6th, get ready for polarizing culture wars. We've already seen the Democrats suggest that mob politics is the new normal. We've seen the Democrats capitalize on racial issues to polarize the country. We've seen them try to divide Americans by class and sex, too. With the platform of Congress, look for Democrats to attempt a series of divisive maneuvers intended to relaunch those culture wars in new and frightening ways. 7th, attacks on religious liberty. President Trump has been stalwart in his defense of religious liberty. Democrats will be just as stalwart in their attacks on religious liberty. They're surely going to attempt to push so-called anti-discrimination laws directed at religious businesses, churches, and schools. And then they will dare President Trump to veto those laws so they can claim that he and all Republicans are bigots. 8, the twisting of social media. Now, Democrats have made a habit of threatening our biggest social media companies with investigations and regulations should they fail to crack down on conservative perspectives. Democrats, angry as all hell that Hillary Clinton lost in 2016, blamed companies like Facebook for so-called fake news. and attributed Hillary's utter incompetence to the impact of Russian bots. Democrats don't actually believe any of that, but they've frightened social media companies into cracking down on free speech, as a leaked report from Google to Breitbart News showed this week. Social media companies are deeply afraid of Democrats punishing them for failing to target conservatives. Don't be surprised if those social media companies escalate their efforts to do just that. 9. Radical growth of the Democrat media complex. Listen, we already know that the mainstream media institutions are dominated by Democratic supporters. And we know that those Democratic supporters will parrot pretty much any talking points the Democratic Party pushes out. But with Democrats in power, pushing every line of attack simultaneously, the media's never-ending fire hose of anti-conservative propaganda will merely widen the nozzle. If you're worried about media bias now, wait until Democrats control Congress and put President Trump in their sights with the power of law. 10th, mob rule. Democrats believe they have to lash out in anger in order to win in 2018. If they do win, they'll double down on that anger, hoping it carries them to victory in 2020. Did you like those mobs invading the Senate and the steps of the Supreme Court? Are you enjoying top Democratic officials nodding and smiling at crowds harassing Republicans in restaurants? Get ready for much, much more. The only way to shut down the Democrats' new mob rule strategy is to stop them cold at the ballot box. In 2016, Hillary Clinton lost the presidency because Democrats didn't show up to vote. They simply assumed she'd sweep to victory. They were wrong. Today, Republicans feel optimistic after the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh, which is understandable. I do too. But that optimism should not blind us to the importance of voting on November 6th. This Democratic Party is more radical than ever. They've embraced a nastier vision of politics than ever. But that does not mean they are fated to lose. Your vote matters. Your vote counts. Get out there on Election Day and ensure that the Democratic Party of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Hillary Clinton aren't allowed anywhere near the levers of power. It's been an honor and a pleasure being with you on the Fox News airwaves over the last month. Thank you for your viewership. And remember, the fight for America's future is never over.